Warning, this podcast may be disturbing to some listeners. Due to the graphic nature, listener discretion is advised. Welcome from wherever you are. This is the Demon Inside podcast. I'm your host, John Venom. If you would like to review another episode of the Demon Inside, you can go to Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and any podcast platform. And please, don't forget to subscribe and rate us with 5 stars. A new episode will come out once a week.
Time and space. Vast indifference of the universe.
We will be right back after a word from our sponsors. And welcome back to the Demon Inside.
Now to that stunning turn and that breaking news in a case of a missing mother and her 2 young daughters. Their father pleading for their safe return, but this morning, he's the one in custody. ABC's Clayton Sandell is in Colorado with the latest. Good morning, Clayton.
Hey, good morning, Michael. Just a few hours ago, police thought they'd still be able to find those little girls and their mother until an overnight arrest and an alleged confession.
Overnight, police towing this truck and collecting evidence at the home of a man arrested for the murder of his pregnant wife and 2 daughters.
A heartbreaking outcome to the story we have been tracking all week, the confession of a father.
According to ABC station Denver 7, 2 law enforcement sources say Chris Watts allegedly confessed to killing 34-year-old Shanann Watts.
Hey, everybody. Say hi.
And their daughters, Celeste, 3, and Bella, 4, reported missing Monday when Shanann, who was 15 weeks pregnant, missed a doctor's appointment. A panicked friend called police.
I'm just concerned, and Shanann, if you're hearing this or you're out there, please let somebody know you're okay.
Chris Watts went on TV Tuesday.
If somebody has her, just please bring her back. I just want them back. I just want them to come back. And if they're not safe right now, that's what's tearing me apart. Because if they are safe, they're coming back. But if they're not, this has got to stop. Like, somebody has to come forward.
Admitting he and Shanann exchanged words before the disappearance, but insisted.
It wasn't like an argument. We had an emotional conversation, but I'll leave it at that.
24 hours later, he was in custody.
The real key is going to be what was going on in their relationship. What would be his motive?
Watts allegedly told investigators he will lead them to the bodies. He is now in jail awaiting charges. Michael?
All right, definitely a stunning turn there, Clayton. Thank you.
Hello, my Demon Insiders, and welcome back to the Demon Inside. I'm your host, John Venom, and today we're going to be doing the Demon Inside Christopher Watts. So I'm pretty sure everybody knows who Christopher Watts is, so I'll kind of touch up on it just for a second, because what we do on this show is we look for the demon inside. Now, I usually don't try to describe everything that happens during the murders and things like that, because, I mean, usually I don't need to find the demon inside. But in this case, I am going to have to get into it a little bit. So for those of you that do not want to hear about 2 little girls getting murdered, don't listen any further than this. So I'm giving you a warning. This is a really hard case for me to do because I have grandkids that were their age, granddaughters, grandsons, and it's very hard for me to imagine somebody doing this to them, especially their own father. Now, during this episode, like I told you guys on the last episode, I try to find concrete evidence from either the police reports or first count interviews and things like that. This time, I'm doing it from a book, and I have to give the book name and the author. It's Letters from Christopher, The Tragic Confessions of the Watts Family Murders, book by Sherilyn Cato. Now, throughout this whole rest of this episode, I'm going to be quoting a lot from the book. It's not her words, they're his words. He wrote letters and she put them in a book. Now, some of these, I'm not going to read the whole letter because some of it really just doesn't matter. So, Christopher Watts killed his 2 little girls and his wife, threw them into an oil tanker, the 2 little girls into 2 separate tankers, and buried the mom a little bit away from where they were at. He didn't even bury them together. And I'll explain to you why he did that. So, in one of the letters, Chris writes this: I don't know if you want this in the book or if God... Now, this is him writing a letter from prison to this author. And he, at this point, has been saved by God, according to him. So I don't know if you want this in the book or if God does, but here are the things I left out. On August 12th, when I finished putting the girls to bed, I walked away and said, that's the last time I'm going to be tucking my babies in. These letters, and I'm sorry that I'm off script, but these letters, they talk about everything that happened to these little girls. And it's heartbreaking, and we're going to have to get into it because I want to show you a little bit more. Let's continue. I knew what was going to happen the day before I did nothing to stop it. I was numb to the entire world. I had literally taken my kids to a birthday party, played with water balloons, had an amazing time, sang songs all the way home, gave them baths and a shower, ate dinner, read bedtime stories, and sang bedtime songs. And still, nothing registered. When Shanann had to be somewhere, I always enjoyed taking the girls places or playing outside because it was our opportunity to bond. And still, the night before, I couldn't stop myself from what I knew would occur the next morning. August 13th, morning of, I went to the girls' room first before Shanann, and I had our argument. I went to Bella's room, then Cece's room, and used a pillow from their bed to kill them. Now I'm off script. He used a pillow to kill his 2 daughters while they were laying in bed. That's not the story we got, right? Exactly my point. He says that's why the cause of death was smothering. After I left Cece's room, then I climbed back in bed with Shanann, and our argument ensued after Shanann had passed. Bella and Cece woke back up. We will be right back after a word from our sponsors. Hey guys, now it's time for the Uber shout out of the week. So, I don't have any Uber shout outs for the week. I haven't really been doing Uber. My car was damaged and I haven't been able to drive around. But I try to make light during this part because everything's always dark in my shows. Now, I'm going to talk to you all about something that happened to me that was really strange. And it's kind of dark, so forgive me for this one. There's not going to be any happy Uber shout-outs today. I do security, if I've never mentioned it before. I have a small security company of one, which is me. And I do security at a building that these people don't want homeless people in their stairwells. Usually I'm good about it. I don't try, because they want us to have them arrested, and I don't do that. Sometimes I will if they ask me to, because sometimes they want food or they want a place to sleep, and I try to help them as much as possible, but unfortunately I have to get them out of the stairwells because they make a mess, and things like that. And people get freaked out with homeless. So the other day, I had a guy that I asked him to leave. He was a white young man, and he started getting upset at me, and he started, pretty much off the handle. He wasn't going to fight me. I could usually tell when somebody's going to fight me, and I just told him to leave, and he left, but he was shouting and screaming, "Hail Satan." That really freaked me out because, I do the show, The Demon Inside. So I saw it as, this guy's kind of crazy, no big deal, and I let it pass. A week or two goes by, and I go back, and there's another homeless man, different guy, black man. He was a little bit older than the last guy, a little bit younger than me. But he was sleeping in the stairwell, and I asked him, "Hey, you got to leave. You can't be here." So he starts getting very violent with me, very angry at me. And as he's walking away, he's saying, "Hail Satan." What are the chances of two totally separate people that are homeless screaming at the top of their lungs, "Hail Satan"? I do these shows in twos. Are these demons trying to tell me something? Maybe they want me to stop. Well, I'm not going to stop. But I thought sharing that with you guys, for me, freaked me out. So if you guys have a strange story or a scary story or maybe a happy story, something that happened to you that you couldn't explain, send it to me. Maybe I'll play it. Well, you know what? I will play it on my podcast. You can send it to my email, the Demon Inside Podcast @gmail.com. You could send it to my Facebook, the Demon Inside Podcast. You could send it to my X. There's pretty much everywhere you can send it. Just look for it in Google. And yeah, send me those stories. All right, guys, let's get back to the show. And welcome back to the Demon Inside. He says, "I'm not sure how they woke back up, but they did. Bella's eyes were bruised, and both girls looked like they had been through trauma. That made the act that much worse, knowing I went to their rooms first and knowing I still took their lives at the location of the batteries. So the reason the medical examiner found oxycodone in Shannon's system is because I gave it to her. I thought it would be easier to be with Nicole if Shannon wasn't pregnant. I don't know if this was a spiritual visit, but I had a dream. Cece was dancing next to the chair in my cell when she was dancing. All of my folders on the chair started moving, and I thought she was in trouble. So I said, "Watch out, get away, watch out." Then I woke up. I'm hoping she comes back. I hope everyone comes to visit me. I'm trying to see if I can clear my head better before I go to sleep to help. I like that John 10:10 passage you sent. I wish I could have had an open ear to hear the Lord calling me. Back in June, July, or August. If we run after sin, we won't hear our shepherd calling us. I couldn't discern between the good spirits and the evil spirits, and that eventually lodged me into a deep pit I couldn't climb back out of. Take care and God bless, Chris. So this is one of many letters. He states at one point, Shanann was so used to getting her way, and this is a quote, and when she saw she wasn't, she would revert as always to anger and threats to get what she wanted. This time, though, I was not giving her into her demands. That's when my anger for her began. Years of her telling me what to do and what not to do, keeping me from my own family for sometimes months at a time, were over. Keeping me in the background was over. All the weeks of me thinking about killing her, and now I was faced with it. When she started to get drowsy, I somehow knew how to squeeze the jugular veins until it cut off the blood flow to her brain. I watched my hands and thought I should take them off her neck, but I couldn't. I knew if I took my hands off of her, she would still keep me from Nikki. They asked me why she didn't fight back. It's because she couldn't fight back. Her eyes filled with blood, and she looked at me and she died. I knew she was gone when she relieved herself. I was wrapping her up in the bedsheet when the girls came walking into the room. I don't know how it could be possible, but they were both up and walking around. I knew if Nikki and I were going to be together, I had to kill all of them. I wrapped Shanann in the sheet, and Bella kept asking me what was wrong with Mommy. Both girls started crying. Both girls looked like they had been through something. I knew it was because of being smothered. I could not comfort my girls. I had no desire to. I think I told her Mommy would be okay. She just didn't feel good. I tried to carry Shanann down the stairs, but I lost my grip on her twice, and she was too heavy for me to carry. She fell to the floor, and I ended up kind of sliding her down the stairs. The girls were just kind of running around the house and watching me, and with scared looks on their faces. Bella started to cry, and when she did, Celeste started whimpering. What a nightmare this was. This is the reason I killed them first. So they did not have to witness any of this. I wanted to take them peacefully and make it so much easier for them and for me. Now, I didn't know what I was going to do. I got Shanann down the stairs and laid her by the back door. I ran outside and backed my truck up in the driveway. As I was moving the truck, I realized that everything I had thought about was about to be completed. I was angry with the girls that they were up and awake, and I felt anger for Shanann that I could have killed anything and got in my way. My hands were shaking so hard and my knees were buckling under me, I felt like I was seeing through a dark screen. It was too late. I was in this nightmare and it wouldn't let me out. I realize now the girls getting up and walking around may have been God's third attempt to stop what I was doing. It was too late though. I couldn't stop. I'm going to pause it there for a second because we've heard these words before where a killer says, I wanted to stop, but I just couldn't stop. I had to keep going. And that was Ronald DeFeo in the Amityville house when he killed his family. He said he was possessed and he shot his whole family. If you guys haven't heard that episode, I would suggest go back and listen to it. But that's something that he said back in the 60s. So I'll continue. I don't know why, except for the anger I felt. You asked me why I was so angry with Shanann? It was a couple of reasons. I was angry that she kept me from my family, blah, 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 all that crap. Now, and I'm going to stop there for a second. The anger that he's feeling for me is a demon. Because it's very weird. When you get angry, you lose control. When you lose control, it's no longer you, it's something else. You get strength when you're angry. You get your adrenaline's running. Anger has a lot of power to it. So after he was done, he had said, had my entire life lay there on that oil site. This is already after he kills everybody and he buries Shanann and he puts the 2 girls in there. Now, before I continue, let me tell you why because they asked him, why did you put the girls in the oil tanks? He said because he didn't want them to wake back up. All I could feel was now I was free to be with Nikki. Feelings of my love for her were overcoming. I felt no remorse. The darkness inside of me had won. It was still in me, though. I thought maybe permanently. I felt evil swallowed up by this thing inside of me. I felt like I could kill anything and be justified for doing it. I didn't feel any remorse for what I did. I didn't feel bad for killing my entire family. I really didn't feel anything. My mind went to the dog. Did I remember to put him in the cage? So this is him talking about the evil that's inside of him. And this is what I've been trying to talk about, is the demon that's inside of him. But I'm going to continue on. So in the weeks leading to the murders, and we've heard this before. Remember with Austin Harroff was having nightmares. So in the weeks leading to the killing, Chris was having nightmares. And his nightmares were about him being alone at the house, and the lights were all on, and he would wake up trying to figure out where everybody was at. So on the night after the killings, he went to sleep, turned off all the lights. When he woke up in the morning, all the lights were on. That was a fact. So was it a spirit? Was it a ghost? I don't know. When he was in jail, so in jail, he's actually on suicide watch, because remember this, a lot of these family annihilators kill themselves at the end, and he didn't get a chance to do that. So he's still on suicide watch because I think the demon is trying to get him to do that. But let's continue. He writes, I'm standing there alone in the darkness. The only light was that of a dim night light used for guards to check on you. I'm standing there wondering if this is my normal for the rest of my life. This is all about him. I'll continue. I lay down in the bunk in my turtle suit. Now, his turtle suit is something that they put on him because of the suicide watch. They don't want him to kill him. And when you're on suicide watch, they don't give you anything that you can kill yourself with. So pretty much you're in an empty cell. And so he's laying down in his bunk and he's looking into the darkness. Nothing is adding up, and it feels like none of this can be real. To my astonishment, I look in the front corner of my cell and see 2 dark figures standing there. Did you hear that? 2 dark figures standing there. I thought, okay, this is my eyes playing tricks on me. So I closed them and opened my eyes again, and yet they are still there. As I focus more intently, I can see one is male and one is female. The male is in a black suit and the female is in a black dress with a Victorian-style hat. Both their wardrobes looked vintage. Their faces were ash-colored and almost familiar, until the familiar feeling turned into a sure thing. This was my grandfather and my grandmother on my mom's side. Their faces being unmistakable now. I almost want to move closer to them when their eyes opened in unison. They motioned me towards them, but I was frozen and knew I didn't want to go towards them. Their eyes were as red as blood crimson. This eerie feeling came over me as I had 4 eyes staring back at me as if piercing my soul in a bad way. The only problem was I felt like I was in a trance and had to keep my eye contact. Somehow they would not let my eyes move off of them. I felt like I needed to go over to them as the one motioned his hand for me to come near, but all of a sudden something broke the trance. I looked away and looked back, and the corner of the cell was empty. The pair was gone. I obviously couldn't sleep much after that event, thinking this type of visit would only get worse if I let my guard down. I knew without any doubt this was part of what was inside of me. It completely freaked me out. I realized I did have a demon inside of me. Now, what was I going to do? So, for me, Chris Watts could possibly, he's telling you right there that he was possessed, that he had a demon inside of him. So, remember this, when I say possessed, I don't mean the Exorcist possessed. I'm saying that when you have anger and it takes over, you kind of give away a little bit because you're not thinking sensibly. And this is when a demon can take control. Also, his girlfriend or his mistress, she gave him, and this is why I'm doing Chris Watts, a crystal which was under the bed of his daughter. She is into these crystals and she is into this healing. And remember, we talked about it last week. Sometimes these crystals are damaged. Sometimes they're not supposed to help. They're supposed to be buried in the ground. I think that it's possible that he was possessed, much like Ronald DeFeo, Austin Haroff, all these other people, that in a moment it took control and it decided to ruin everybody's life. Now here's the other thing. Chris wanted to be with his girlfriend, and he thought that the family was standing in his way. And the 2 weeks or 3 weeks before, when he was having these nightmares, he was also dreaming that he could live this happy life. How do you think a happy life is going to happen when you kill your family? And you have to know that the police are going to find out. It's not like you can make people disappear. That doesn't happen. Or at least it doesn't happen when it's a family like this. Could he have gotten an evil demon through that crystal? Sure. Could he have gotten the demon through his infidelity? According to a priest, Catholic priest, he says that any sin is going to allow a demon to enter you. You don't have to sit there and say, I want to be possessed, or I want a demon, or any of that. These demons, they look for an entry into you, and they whisper in your ear, and they talk to you, and they tell you things are going to be awesome. And they tell you things are going to be great. You're going to make a lot of money. You're going to be so in love. You're going to have many lovers. You're going to be popular. And these are all things we want. But the thing is, it's misleading, because then you end up doing something like this and you don't know what the hell happened until it's too late. Thanks for listening, guys. I'll talk to y'all next week. Have a good one. Don't forget to subscribe to the Demon Inside podcast on any podcast platform. A new episode of the Demon Inside will be released every week. Let us know what you think of the episode on all our social media platforms. If you have any questions or comments, go to the Demon Inside Podcast at gmail.com or click on the link down below. We would love to hear from you. And to become a Demon Insider, go to our website, thedemoninsidepodcast.com. We thank you for listening and hope you will join us next week for a new Demon Inside Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please tell your friends. I am John Venom, and I'll see you next time. If I don't get possessed. The Demon Inside was written and created by James Porter. It is a production of Venomous Entertainment. Background music is by Lucas King. And the title song, Demon Inside, was produced by Rice Fulber, composer lyricist Peter Shelley, and performed by Conjure One.